No, we don't want you to be incognito. Come on up here. I know you're not going to say anything, but
so they sued and said, hey, why are you allowing only union apprenticeship programs? And San Diego Unified simply said, which I said in my opening statement, and I want to add a little bit to it. We are referred to as 15% of the construction industry. Well, I think it's much more than that. That's the industry quote. Labor has 15% of the industry. And yet we're graduating 92% of the apprenticeship programs and 97% of folks of color. That's why San Diego Unified.
But Tom, if you have a monopoly on jobs and employment opportunities via PLAs, you would have a successful rate of graduating, and we applaud you for that.
We have a monopoly on it because we spend the damn money.
Tom,
I mean, $1.3 billion annually. Well, that's real. George, do you mind?
Yeah, go ahead, George. No, wait. Let me just finish my point. Now, we all know that the Democratic Party's campaign PACs are supported by labor. They represent the working poor, which is a good thing because I'm one of them. And so Dems are supported by union labor PACs who makes these decisions and policies. And on the other hand, you got the good old boys, the AGC, who represents business, and they are against affirmative action, preferential treatment. They promoted Proposition 209, which is our next subject. And they support the Republicans. So that's how we get these imbalances. So when you got a stacked deck and Dems that are basically on these boards and on these different policy procedures, they are basically swinging the sway, the support and the decision toward trade unions. I don't care about the other trades. I'm concerned about the life expectancy and the BCA, Inter-City Unilateral Apprenticeship Program. I want to be written into a PLA under the Inter-City Unilateral Apprenticeship Committee because we are a protective class. And Proposition 209 is against protective class, so when you talk about a protective class, which is trade union, you have a set-aside program for unions. I yield to the gentleman, Mr. George Harris.
Hello. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. And I thank you for inviting me to be here. I work for San Diego Unified School District, and I've been basically the administrator of the San Diego Project Stabilization Agreement for the past 9 years. I'm not a policymaker. I'm a staff person, right? I work for the school district. I didn't write the PLA. I didn't advocate for it. I didn't advocate against it.
So you're just getting a check?
Well, I'm a staff person. I work for the agency.
You can't do nothing.
Okay, I didn't say that, but...
Hold on. Excuse me, right there. Right?
Okay.
For everybody, we want to talk to each other and not in a disparaging way, because that's not going to accomplish anything. If you got a point to make, and I'm sure that you will have many points to make today, brother, but just...
Hey, I
show a little respect.
I apologize, because respect is something that people do earn, and brother, you've earned that by keeping your job for so many years. I'm just tired of the handkerchief heading this, man. That's what our problem is. You can cut it any way you want it, dissect it any way you want it, fry it, boil it, serve it. It's all Negro propaganda BS. Front.
Okay, now that you laid that out there without pointing a finger directly at anybody in this room, the question becomes, hold on, let me see something here. What are we trying to accomplish? If we're trying to accomplish something, then let's talk about solutions and remedies. Do you have any?
Can I leave, please?
No, Justice Johnson, hold up.
Wait,
Mr. Vice President.
Man, my time is too important. I gotta go.
All right,
if a Negro sitting at this table that ain't got no off in his step or in his game, he's just like them handkerchief head Negroes down in LA, faking the funk on all these major projects, and ain't no black people working. And they giving you all the game as about
so
what they can do and how they can do it. It's crazy, man.
Dressel, before you run away from the food on the table, why don't you hear what the gentleman has to say? Because, I mean, there is accountability. And you're right. Hold on,
Be in
hold
the
on.
next room. I heard that.
All right, listen, the accountability is this, is that regardless of who you are in a position, people want to see results. And George, you were going to something, I want to hear that, if you don't mind. And that's my brother, so don't get it twisted.
Yeah, so I guess what I wanted to set the stage because I wanted to let you all know that, you know, what my role is in this PLA enterprise. I do recognize that, first of all the people in here represent the aspirations of people who don't have much. People who don't have power, people who don't have political power, don't have capital, don't have access to capital. So I applaud that we're all in the room here. We all recognize that we're all on the same side of the trying to get to where we want to be. As far as the nature of the PSA, I think that without trying to pick sides or anything, it is simply a matter of fact that the unions organized together, they exercised political power, and they put together a document that was intended to advance their interests. And I think has been an observer of the political process and a participant in the political process and understands how to achieve things through the political process. You have to applaud that. It is also a fact, and with all due respect to Tom, that the people who make up the unions, the union leadership, are not represented by people in this room, the people who look like us. So it shouldn't come as a surprise that the product of that, the PSA, does not reflect our interests as we would have designed it. Now, with all that said, what can be done? I do think that the PLA, which is a negotiated agreement, it was something that was developed by the unions with the school district, and it's basically it's a legal agreement, but it's a political document. It came about because of political power.
Right.
So what can be done? What can be done is what's being done here, clearly articulating what our interests are, clearly articulating what the goals are, and advocating that those goals and those interests are reflected in that political document. Specifically, what that means is the PLA can be amended.
So you're going to amend the PLA to allow the BCA apprenticeship program to participate?
So that's why I started with, I am a staff person. I'm not a policymaker. I'm not the union. So those people who have that political power have it within their power to amend the agreement to do whatever it is the parties want to advance. Yes.
You're by trade a lawyer?
I went to law school, yes.
Okay. So where does the law stand in terms of resolving this conflict, this chasm that we're addressing today? Because you mentioned the policy part, political part, but what about the law itself? Which we are a country that's ruled by laws.
Right.
How do we amend the law that would override whatever these other political issues are, and then give us some opportunity to include more people that look like the folks in this room?
Can I jump in right
Yeah,
here?
go ahead.
I think maybe I could help out here a little bit. So, but I mean, you say monopoly, and that's a powerful word, and I think all of us understand that. But it isn't a monopoly. There is space in the agreement for folks to work outside of the agreement, there is space in the agreement for the black contractors, the AGC, the ABC apprenticeship programs to find their way into the agreement. And that is, when I irreverently referred to the alphabet soup, there is a threshold that the agreement takes off, and everything below that threshold is really there designed to let small contractors who are working their way into public works to actually learn how to do public works before they become, much larger contractors who then would, get the bigger contracts and be competing, side by side under the project labor agreement. So
you're talking about a carve out for a certain, what is the dollar amount for the threshold ton?
So it's $1 million.
Right. So the PFA covers agreements, covers projects over $1 million.
So you basically contract size projects under $1 million. So Paul Jackson, who was a Division 10 contractor who worked on his last city schools project, which was Lincoln High School, that was not a PLA, and he did all the bathroom accessories, the toilet partitions and stalls and everything that's in that Lincoln High School. Who's a very prominent public works contractor, has not been able to feed his family because he can't cross a union threshold door, and he employed BCA apprentices. So what we're trying to say is this: if you have carve-outs for small fish to swim in small ponds, that you're trying to say, well, we're going to carve out $1 million. And I think there's a discussion that says, Gustavo here? Gustavo from Civic San Diego, they're basically talking about 20% of the colored-only hotel or segregated hotel at one time that only African Americans could stay in has a PLA, which basically says that the only African American apprenticeship program can't work on that project unless their contractors are working. But this discussion has to continue, and it has to be, because we have an hour at our session. But one of the things I want you to pay attention to during Black History Month, we're talking about the people that gave their lives. Martin, Medgar, and Malcolm are on the wall. And we asked the question, did they die in vain? And if you look at the pie chart, it shows the orange dominant piece of that pie chart, which we have demonstrated through the lack of participation, has been dominated by one group, and the other group is basically shrinking, and the African Americans are zero. And so what we've got to get down to is that when we talk about PLAs, I understand the conversation has gone into policies, procedures, and small contracting. I am basically here to fight for the survival and the existence of the apprenticeship program, and we need to get in where we fit in. We need to make it happen. If we're aligning ourselves with other open shop programs like AGC, ABC, who are basically saying that we too, or me too, are not participating, but yet still we're not even participating in those organizations. If there's a fit in the building trades, damn it, we want to find it. And so what we're saying is that that's what we're looking for, is we're looking for a solution. This house would not be built in vain.
Your name, please.
My name is Jason Campbell. I'm a sheet metal contractor here in San Diego. I work union. I started off in the trade working union for over 10 years.
In the mic.
I have a lot of background with unions and with contracting. I'm actually working on a big prevailing wage contract right now up in LA's fire station, and we've got a lot of positive things going on. One thing I want to say about the PLAs and the unions is, as I work union, the thing is that we're not fighting. My union wasn't fighting against black contractors associations. We're fighting against any association that comes in. A lot of these associations, like ABC, they cheat. They don't follow the rules. They don't pay the workers they're supposed to be paying them. There are so many lawsuits against there are so many lawsuits against companies like ABC because they don't follow the rules. They don't follow the programs, which make it hard for other apprenticeship programs like we have here to get in. So it's not about a race thing so much. At least with the sheet metal contractors union, it wasn't about race. Like the gentleman said, they don't advertise. It's word of mouth. I've got 4 close friends that I've got to the trades union, sheet metal union, making $40 an hour. great money. You're not going to make that anywhere without a college education. You're not going to make that kind of money anywhere at all. But I've got a son who's working Chanel Union. I've got a friend. I've got two friends in the trades. It is about word of mouth. But if we want to make a difference, we have to go in there and lobby. What the unions do is they pay people to go out there and lobby and get these laws written into their favors. That's what they're supposed to do. That's called business. We got to do the same thing too. We don't have, but our problem is here that we don't have the millions of dollars to fight and go out and pork belly and go out and lobby our organization. But there is a way that we can get in there, and we got to keep fighting that. But it has to be done legally, and it has to be orchestrated. But you got to remember, the unions aren't fighting against race; they're fighting against any of these. They got a small market. San Diego used to be a union town. It's a very, very small market out here, and they're trying to fight to keep what they have. For a company like us to get in and say, hey, we're not an ABC, because I'm gonna put them down because I fight against them. They cheat. They have guys go through a apprenticeship program, and then when they're about to turn out, they say, oh, we don't have work for you as a journeyman, but we have work for you as a second period apprentice.
Let me make some clarification. The ABC as an association does not hire or contract with anyone. The AGC as an association does not hire or contract with anyone. The Building Trades Council does not hire or contract with anyone. The trade unions, we're not anti-union, we're pro-inclusion. I think what we're talking about is the lack of participation, and what we're speaking about specifically at this meeting is how do we get the inner city unilateral apprenticeship program, who's legally, as you say, we've fought laws and we've done that battle before with the late great George Stevens. How do we get the inner city unilateral apprenticeship program that's state and federal approved under the U.S. Department of Labor and the Division of Apprenticeship Standards? How do we allow, we say no child left behind, how do we get them on to work on projects if there is a monopoly or a set-aside or exclusivity? That's the question that I'm asking, and I haven't gotten an answer yet.
I can't answer it.
Mike, please.
My name is Kevin Alvin, so I'm a union rep for the Electricians Union, recording secretary for Electrical Workers Minority Caucus. So even our members don't understand what my job is as a union rep. So to simplify, I'm like their career counselor, right? So my job is not to look for a job for that individual, those members, the members that look like me and the members that don't look like me. My job, although they don't have a job, they have a career, but my job, which could be terminated at any given time, including if I say something goofy on this microphone, so we're all expendable, right? My job is to take and look at their career path. That is what I do, and I do that with unbiased. Now, in order to do that, I have to have a strategic route. I have to look at that contractor, and that contractor has to be successful. I have to look at that contractor, and sometimes when we talk about project labor agreements or public works, however you want to take and, sweeten the Kool-Aid, they have to know how the terms of the law. They need to know the terms of the game in order to perform effectively on that project. Despite the complexion of your skin, you still got to know the law, right? So what I do is for those small contractors that come in that want to take and be successful, that work with me, and whether they be non-union or union on project labor agreements, I help them to understand the law so that they can navigate so that they're successful. Because when I have men and women that are on those projects, regardless of the contractor being union or non-union, their pride is what's at stake. You see, the men and women that's out in the field every day, they don't understand the things that go on between the contract and things like that. Their everyday life existence is perfecting their craft. Now, if they're perfecting the craft, what's the contractor's job? The contractor's job is to market the skills that they acquire. That's right. Okay? And so the guys in the field, as far as all this going on, they really don't get it. Okay? Some of them aspire to take you and they want to later on become a contractor. And so when they do, we have with our system ways that they can take and progressively go through. I actually go out and I target black contractors, and I look for them, and I groom them, and I help them understand, and I help them navigate the way, you know. And there's sometimes where it comes down to the awarding body. Sometimes the awarding body does not have all the tools in place so that that small contractor can be successful. So if they go in and they can't meet payroll according to state law, so you go in, despite the complexion of your skin, you own a business, but you can't meet payroll, guess what? You're about to be dinged. And you may be blocked from ever being on that project, you know? But as far as the people that look like me on the projects, now there's another story. How do we get people from black communities to be interested in the craft? Okay, because now I stay active in the community. I stay active and I'm all around, but I'm an electrician. General theory with electricity, you go to path of least resistance. So if I'm in a community that doesn't like union worker, or doesn't like the complexion of my skin, or doesn't like, you know, people figure out a reason not to like one another, okay? So I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of time with someone that's going to take and have a debate. Why? Because my job is to put people to work. That's the bottom line. So when people take and they're out there and they're looking for an opportunity, my first line of defense, I got to explain to them the difference of being union. So with that, they're looking for, hey, I want to have food on the table. I want to have a roof over my head. I want to be able to put clothes on my kids' back. I want to be able to send them to college if they want, and if they don't want to go to college, I want to know a career path for the apprenticeship, okay? But I don't understand how to do that, so I explain that. I go to schools throughout San Diego and Imperial County, and I explain that. And then I try to clone myself because I can't reach every school here.
Well, let me say this in the spirit of time, because I know you've made a very assertive effort. I know who you are. And yes, there is an expectation that when you're African American and you're in a position that you at least have an alliance with the only African American trade association in the world. You don't go to the Urban League, or you go to the NAACP or any other, California, I mean not the California, but go to different organizations that don't represent builders. So if I want catfish, I'm going to the Catfish Club, or I'm going to the Catfish Pond. So you said, in terms of outreach and recruitment, we have been partnering on several projects where we demonstrated that zip code target hiring does work. Like on the Skyline Library, we had 70% local zip code target hiring, and that was African Americans. That represented all the trades. We fed the unions, we fed the open shops, we counted the numbers with the AGC and what have you. So I'm saying that we have two things that we've offered here today. We've offered we're predominantly 35% African Americans in this community. We may be 5% countywide, but we're the largest demographics of African Americans in this community. And you have a state-of-the-art training facility and an organization that has been postured to do things. And we're trying to get around a policy and a procedure that says we can't, even though you're legally approved, but you're unapproved. And so we're going to talk about that, but I want to give Tom Lemon the closing remarks on this